Welcome to El Moro Pigeon Show. I am your host, El Moro. I cannot talk too loud because it's kind of early in the morning, but today I'm going to be talking about Spanish powders, okay? I'm going to name this show Learn About Spanish Powders because there is a lot of people that misunderstand this breed. There's a lot of people that don't know about this breed, and they asking me about about it. There's so many breeds of pigeons that one cannot know all of them or specialize in all of them. For the most part, what we do is we pick a breed or two that we like, and this is what we have. If it were up to us, some of us, probably, at least me, if it was up to me and I had that kind of money, that I could have about 5 different lofts and I have employees working for me, I would have probably 5 different lofts. I would definitely have powders, homing pigeons, high flyers, maybe rollers, Birmingham rollers. I like the Birmingham rollers. In the beginning, I didn't like them, but I like them now. They're beautiful. And I even probably had uh, clinkers. I would definitely have also show homers. I like show homers. Anyway, enough about that. What I'm going to talk about today is Spanish powders. Okay? I have been contacted by a lot of people saying that they don't have Spanish powders in their towns. They don't have Spanish powders in their cities. It seems like we here in Florida, we have a lot of Spanish powders, especially Cuban people. The Spanish powders in Cuba are a different breed than the different lines of Spanish powders, okay? I have so much to say that I don't even know what to start, okay? Over here in my town, over here where I live, there's a lot of different Spanish powders, okay? And it's what you like. Me, when I was little and I grew up liking the Spanish powders that had a big chest, a big a big. They have a lot of different terminologies, but the original terminology, I'm gonna say it, is the buche, okay? Because the original name for these pigeons are buchones, which means a buche is the chest area, which is they fill it up with air and it's big. So I'm gonna call it from now on in this video buchones. Okay? The reason why I say Spanish powders is so the English audience can understand. So I am going to say buchones because this is where this breed comes from, Spain. Even though there are powders in England, which I like very much, and I would like to have some Norwich powders to mix them with the Spanish powders because my friend did that in West Palm Beach. His name is Manny. And the birds that came out of there were good. They fly a lot. Okay, so what do you look for in a Spanish powder? This is what I look for. Okay, this is what I look for. I look for you have them short that are beautiful, and you also have them long that are beautiful. So it depends of the shape of the buche. Okay? And every time I say buche, I'm going to do this. That way you can relate to it. For example, when I was in Cuba, there was this guy that had, his name was Adolfo. And he had a black powder, buchon, a black buchon. He had all homing pigeons, but he had one buchon, which was black. And he was raised with the homing pigeons. And this bird was the most beautiful thing you could have seen in the air. He was short, but he had a big pout, and he flew very hard because he was raised with the homers. Now, can the Pouters come from far away like the homers do? No. They can probably come from 90 miles. There have been exceptions of Pouters coming from very long distance, but I don't know of any Pouter that have come back from 350 miles. So no, I cannot tell you because I don't have the knowledge of it. But I know that I had two that came back from 60 miles. Okay, so what to look for on the Buchon? The head, it could be nice and round, or it could be flat on top with a beautiful beak. The shorter the beak on the Spanish Pouter, the prettier the Spanish Pouter. On the floor, I'm telling you my experience. I have had Spanish Pouters that were beautiful on the floor. Nice body, big buche. I like them with big buche. Not too big, but big. Okay? Because the name of the breed is Buchon. So if you have a Buchon, the Buchon has to have buche. Okay? That is the beauty of it. Now there's two types of buche. There's a buche descolgado, which is hanging down, and there is a buche that is high, high and hard. I like that one. There is a buche that is in between. If you mix a buche descolgado, which is hanging, with a buche alto, which is buche high and big and hard, the bird will come out with the buche in the middle. And when the birds fly, the buche moves, side to side. Like a pigeon that I have named Fantomas, he has a buche alto but descolgado at the same time, and it's cracked in the middle, which is a beautiful thing. I love that bird. And when he flies, he let out the buche and moves from side to side. Now, these buchones, when they fly with their mate, they really let out the buche. There are situations where they don't let out the buche, but they bring it out, bring it up, bring it inside, which was being a stressful situation. Probably when they're molting, probably when there is no birds around, definitely when there is a hawk around. Okay, my particular buchones that I mix them with homing pigeon. Not mix them, but let me explain correctly. When I have a baby Pouter from two Pouters that are born, I take them when they're a month and a half. They start eating, or a month, and I throw them on the floor with the homing pigeons. So they learn the behavior of the homing pigeon. Pigeons are very smart. They watch other birds and they learn from other birds. Okay? So, what I do is, with that bird that learn that behavior, I release them with the homing pigeons. They fly with the homing pigeons. They learn the behavior of the homing pigeon. And here's the beautiful thing, that when they are flying with the homing pigeon, when they are babies, they don't have the pout yet. But as they grow and mature to an adult, and then the pouts start growing. So they learn how to fly with the homers without the pout yet being developed. So they learn the same wind stroke. When they grow up to an adult and they fly by themselves, they have then the stroke of the Pouters, which is more like if you're rowing in the air. Like there is a specific Pouter named Morrillero Alicantino that if he flies like if it's rowing in the air. So these Pouters have a majestic stroke of the wind of when they fly, okay, of the wind, when they move the wind, las alas. They have a majestic stroke, man. It's like they flying in a slow motion, and the pout is out when they see the female. A lot of them put their wings straight up in the air and hold it with that pout hanging. Then they fly again. Some of them make the noise, strike their wings together in the air. That's because they're very hot-blooded. I'm telling you everything that comes to my mind when it comes to my mind, without forgetting that I'm talking about how do you like or what to look for on a powder or on a buchon. Okay? So what it comes down to is what you like best. Okay? Like with my powders that I raise with the homers, they learn the wind stroke with the homers, but when they fly by themselves, or with the female or with the male they like, they go back to the stroke of the buchon. And that is the best way to have it. Okay? So, what else to look for? It can have a long body and a big bushy. It can have a short body and a big bushy. But the powder has to fly. A lot of these people today, they don't fly their powders. They're scared to fly their powders because of the hawks or because they're so hot-blooded that they get caught also. Okay? But there is a trick for them not to get caught. You have to train them. Just like a homing pigeon, you have to train the homing pigeon to come from far away. You have to train the powders, the buchones. Okay? So, back to what to look for on a buchon. Small beak. Now, in the floor, small beak powder, dragon's tail with the bushy out. It can look really good. Okay, but when it flies in the air, maybe he doesn't let his bushy out. What I'm looking for is that that bird let the bushy out in the air. Okay? If it has a bushy in the floor, it doesn't let the bushy out in the air, then I don't like him too much. Okay? But maybe that same powder, mixing them with the right bird, maybe the babies will let out the bushy in the air. Okay? So it's tricky. All right? So what I look for is bushy in the air, fly high, fly a lot. You know, some of them fly 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I had a video from 13 years ago that I had a bird that fly over an hour without coming down. That's a lot for a powder. That's sometimes a lot for homing pigeons loft flying. Sometimes homing pigeons loft flying, they fly an hour and a half, 2 hours, but sometimes they don't fly that long. Okay? So, if you have a powder that looks good in the floor with a small beak, and it's really good, it might don't fly. So you might have a powder that have a longer beak. But when they fly in the air, my gosh, what a beautiful bird. So see, you cannot judge a powder because it has a long beak. The English, Norwich powder, they have a longer beak, but they fly a lot. And they have the hard buche in the air. See? So, when I see a bird with a long beak and a weird head, I say, okay, a lot of people would not like it. I know that by having birds back in Cuba, that I have birds like that had a big pout in the air and they had a beautiful stroke in the air. So in the air, when they're flying at 25, 30 miles per hour, you cannot see the beak. All you see is the pigeon flying the stroke of the wind and the beak. You cannot see it, but you see the pout. Okay? I hope I can explain this good because there is a lot to explain. Okay? So there is a lot of different powders. So when it comes to what to look in a powder, is how good the bird is what you like. Okay? There's a lot of different powders that I make note of that I'm going to mention right now, and I am going to put the picture of the powder. But there is a lot more than that. But this is like the basic, like the ones that everybody like. Okay, my favorite one is the Cuban powder, buchon or mix. You can take. See, it's like this. Watch. Let me explain it. Let's say you have different breeds of dogs, and you have a German Shepherd, and then you have the Wolf, and then you have a Rottweiler, and you have a Pit Bull. Some people like Pit Bulls. Some people like Rottweilers. Some people like Wolves. Okay? Some people like to take a Rottweiler and mix it with a Pit Bull. They like how the dog looks. Some people like the Wolf to mix it with the German Shepherd. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can really mess that dog up. Because I have a friend of mine named Eric. He's got Bite Life in Miami, and he told me that you cannot mix, or you should not mix, a German Shepherd with the Wolf, because they can come out aggressive, and the strain is too close, something like that. But that you should rather mix it with a Dutch Shepherd or with a Malinois. Okay. So back to the pigeons. You can take a Jinense and mix it with a Marchanero. You can take a Gaditano and mix it with a Jinense. Okay? You have to learn the breeds in order to know what to look for in the different characteristics of the bird. Okay? So, me, I like the Gaditano to mix with a Buchon that is already mixed with other birds, which is really the Cuban Buchon. The Cuban Buchon in the past even has Paloma surita, which is what you call the clinker or the wild bird in it. And then it has also homing pigeon in it. Okay? There's so much to tell you. But you cannot see that in the bird, in the look of the bird, but it's got the some of the qualities of these birds. Okay? Like clinkers are survivors. Okay, but I'm not going to talk about clinkers right now because that's another video. They are amazing birds. They say that the king of the breed is the homing pigeon. Be careful. I love homing pigeons. Yes, they can come from far away, but you have to look at a lot of qualities of the wild pigeon or the clinker. It will amaze you. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. What I'm going to talk about is Pouters, because this is like peeling an onion. You can peel an onion, and the more you peel, the more layers you see until you get to the core. So I'm not going to go with different peels right now. I'm going to stay with the core, which is Spanish Pouters, Buchones. Okay, so, and the reason why I keep saying Spanish Pouters is so the English audience can understand me, but I'd rather call them Buchones because that is the correct terminology. So, back to the Buchones. I don't know where I was, but I'm going to continue because I know I'm going to hit that spot sooner or later. So, at this point, it doesn't matter what the Buchon looks like as long as you like it. So don't listen to anybody telling you, the Jinenses are the best, the Gaditanos are no good, and this is no good. Okay. One of the reasons I'm doing these videos is because one of my friends that does not have Buchones and don't know nothing about Buchones, he caught some Buchones with the stipplers and with his homers, and he thinks that Buchones are dumb. If that is the case, and then homing pigeons are dumb also. And we know they're not. Because I've caught homing pigeons here with my Pouters. And a lot of people in Cape Coral in Miami, all the time, every day, they caught homing pigeons all the time when they are being trained with their Pouters. So if any fancier says that any type or any breed of pigeons is dumb, that person really don't know what they're talking about, and they are not a real fancier. You cannot be a fancier and call any type of breed dumb. You have to first understand the breed. Okay? When I first got Birmingham rollers, I thought they were amazing, but I didn't like to have them myself because I like the Pouters. I like the Butcher, and they didn't have no Butcher. Okay? And I like the homers because homers come from far away, and the rollers, for the most part, they just loft fly really, really high, and they roll down. But as I grew up, I liked the rollers. I learned how to see the beauty in the roller, the Birmingham roller. There's different types of rollers, but the roller I like is the Birmingham roller. So I learned how to see the difference in the roller. So if you're a fancier and you say, now that pitching is dumb, now that pitching is no good, now this pitching this, and then you're not a real pitching guy. Because if you're a pitching guy, you even like clinkers. You even like, because you learn how to see the different qualities. You maybe have a preference, which I don't blame you because I also have a preference. But I learned at this point to see the beauty of all the breeds. Okay? So this guy said to me, Buchones are dumb. See, lots of the people that have Buchones now, they're new to the sport and they don't know what the heck they're doing. So they get a baby or a young bird, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, that is really hot-blooded. And it's got a nice butcher and he's flying and he's already encajonando, which means he is very good at bringing the pigeon into his box and bringing the pigeon in and then closing him. Oh, okay, he's good. He's doing that in your loft. So now he thinks that he can put him for the robo, or means for the steal, whether it's a boy or a girl, whether it's a cock or a hen. And he's going to bring a lot of birds. So they make the mistake of closing all the birds and letting them go. And maybe he goes out. See, when you do that to a buchon, he goes out far and he tries to bring birds to his box. Okay? So he's what mankind calls it, or the pigeon world calls it, he's stealing. Okay? He's not really not stealing. The fancier is stealing if he does not give the pigeon back. So the fancier is the thief, not the pigeon, because the pigeon don't know any better. The pigeon is going out there to look for a mate because he's horny. So he's going out there to look for a bird to bring it back to his coop. Now, it's your job to give that pigeon back. But anyway, so maybe that youngster bring back 2 or 3, and then you take it away from him, and then you let him out again. He's good. But it's going to get to the point that instead of bringing, he's going to get a really hot hen that he cannot resist, that hen is already experienced. She's not going to go here, but she is going to bring him to his box, and that's where you get him. Or you might get involved, or he might get involved with a bunch of tipplers that are flying or homers, and then he just get with that flock and it stays there. So how do you do it? So they don't get him. You gotta establish that bird first. You gotta plant that bird first. This is what you do. When you see a bird that is doing that already, okay, and then you marry him, you mate him with another bird. This is the way we did it in Cuba. I don't know the way the youngsters, I don't know these people the way they do it now, but it's not giving them any results because when I look at the pages, I see, oh, I caught this bird. Oh, I caught this bird. Oh, I caught that bird. Okay? Because they don't know what they're doing. So this is what you do. You get this hen or you get this cock and you marry him. and you let them have babies. You let them raise the babies. Then after that, then you take them out and you put them in the box, dark box if it's not too hot. If it's too hot, don't put them in a dark box. Let them see outside. But if the temperature is kind of nice, you put them in a dark box. You close them. They have a special box for that. Boxes for that. Then you leave them there a week or two. Then you lock all your pigeons. Then you let them go. Then you got a bomb in there. Then he'll go out. He'll go far. And he's going to bring birds. And more than likely, they're not going to get him. They're going to call him that. They're going to call that bird patadura. That means he doesn't go down. He doesn't touch another bird's loft. Now, there are those that are patadura already without having to marry him, but you don't know that. So just to have, just to have peace of mind, you go ahead just in case you marry him. Okay? All right. So there are different types of buchones, and I am going to say the different types that I have, and while I say it, a picture is going to appear of this buchón. So the first one is buchón granadino. Buchón gorguero. Buchón gaditano. This is the one I like, and there's many misconceptions about this bird. I'm going to talk about it later. Buchón cucolurquino. Buchón colillano. Buchón palomo de clase. Buchón canario. Look how this bird looks like a canary. Look at the beak on this bird. It's beautiful. See, this is a beautiful bird to mix him with gaditano. Buchón marteño. Buchón marchenero. Buchón laudino sevillano. Buchón laudino murciano. The laudinos are so beautiful, but I really in the air, I like the gaditano better. Buchón jinense. Beautiful bird on the ground. I don't like him in the air, but that's my preference. Buchón veleño. Buchón tiro y emperche pacense, also called buchón morriero. Buchón quebrado murciano. Buchón rafeño. Buchón morrillero alicantino y buchón morrillero cropper. I don't know if this morrillero cropper is the correct name, but the morrillero alicantino is the one that drops the wings down, and the morrillero cropper, I believe, I could be wrong, is the one that has the wings up. Buchón porcellano. Buchón moroncello. Now, there are more buchones, and I have over here an encyclopedia, a pigeon encyclopedia written by Wendell Mitchell Levi. Wendell Mitchell Levi was born September 28, 1891, in Sumter, South Carolina, and he died in 1976 in Sumter, South Carolina. Okay, so I'm sure probably if you're a pigeon fancier, I'm sure maybe you've seen this book. Okay, he wrote, he's responsible for two books. The first book he wrote was The Pigeon in 1941, and the second book was this one, The Encyclopedia of Pigeon Breeds. He wrote it in 1965. Now I'm going to read to you here what he say about the Pouters, because they're not only Spanish. Now, the good thing about this book is that this book was signed by him himself. Now you can tell that he probably was very old. He probably was old when he wrote this, because look at his handwriting. You can tell he's shaky. Now let me read what the book says about him. Wendell Mitchell Levi, AB, JD, has been a pigeon keeper since 1902. During the span of years, he has been involved with every aspect of pigeons and their relationship to men, from auto-sexing to ZA dot. I don't know what that is. His list of accomplishments makes him the natural author of this, the second definitive work in the English language. The first is The Pigeon, which he wrote and first published in 1941. During World War I, Dr. Levi was a first lieutenant in charge of the pigeon section of the U.S. Army Signal Corps for the Southeastern Department. Later, he was president and then chairman of the board of the Palmetto Pigeon Plant, Sumter, South Carolina, one of the most prestigious squad producers in the United States. Here, he had ample opportunity of explore not only pigeon culture, but also the economics of the business of raising pigeons for food. Wendell Levi has been an editor of the American Pigeon Journal since 1927 and has served as a president of the National Pigeon Association 1931-1933. Now, these are different Pouters, okay? You got, now understand that the Cuban Buchones, the Cuban Pouter, might have these birds in him. Because I saw in Cuba this bird, it was a red bird. And I could never even, he would not even come with 100 feet of my loft. Man, I tried to everything with this bird. He was red and he had a huge pout that he used to fly a lot. And then I let out all kinds of hens, man. Pretty, beautiful hens. I mean, these hens were like nice. And they were good in the air. That bird would not budge. He would fly with them, but he would not go on my roof. Okay? So when I went to the guy's house, his beak was like this pigeon's beak. The shape of the head, the mocos, what we call it, la cera, the white part, was the same of the croppers, okay? So this is a Norwich cropper, okay? This one over here. That's a Norwich cropper. All right? That's the one. I want one of those birds. Look at the body of that bird. The legs are very long, but when you mix it with the ones that I have, which I'm going to have medialineas and the buchón cubano, the Cuban Pouter, when you mix them with those, and then the leg will get shorter. But look at that bird. The body is a beautiful, beautiful body. If you take away the legs and the head and the tail, and you look at the body, it looks just like a Homer. Look at that. It's got the body of a Homer. And they fly, man. These guys fly. Then the second one you have, okay, Norwich Cropper. Yeah, the same one. Norwich Cropper, same one. Look how beautiful that bird is. I would love to have one of those birds to mix in with mine. Okay? Then the other cropper would be, yeah, Norwich. All this Norwich. Norwich, you got two Norwich. This one over here is Norwich. And this one is Norwich. Look at that bird, my gosh. But this one is also a cropper or a powder, German cropper. This one right here. Okay, Mr. Wendell Mitchell Levi did a very extensive research of these birds. Then you have the same old German cropper and the Dutch cropper. Okay, this is still Buchones. But this one you can tell it has very small buche. But the other one, this one's got big buche. Okay, then you have Dutch cropper, same thing. They call it cropper or Pouters. We call it Buchones in Spain. Then here you have yellow barred pygmy cropper, and then you have the another pygmy cropper. The pygmy cropper. Look at those legs, how long. Look at this bird. Look at those legs. Now that one I would not mix because I think the legs are too long. I don't know. But if you look at the body is just like a Homer. You know, and they fly. So here we got black pygmy, cream pied, Pomeranian. This is a Pomeranian crop powder. Pomeranian powder and a black pygmy powder. Okay, now you see the beak? See how long the beak is? Now on the Spanish powders, you got short beak. The shorter, you got the rafeños. The rafeños are, oh my gosh, very, very short beak. You know, which I already showed you the picture. Okay. Then you got here the white Pomeranian, same. Black Pomeranian powder, red bar Pomeranian powder, same. But notice that these ones have a lot of feathers in their leg. I would not mix those with powder. Now, interesting that some breeds of homing pigeons, they have feathers on their leg. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but some breeds of homing pigeons, they do have feathers in their leg, and they do win, and they do compete. Okay, I don't know if you guys knew that. Okay, but if you don't think I'm crazy, research it. Now this is a Saxon powder, and this is a, Chalester. Chalester powder. Red oak cock. Chalester powder and Saxon powder. And this book is from back in 1965. But I'm sure it's got some pictures here from his 1941 book. This is the Silesian powder. And this Silesian powder, look at the beak, the same. Look now here, the legs of this bird, the legs of the Silesian powder are shorter. The same, a lot shorter than the Norwich powder, which is the one I like. Now I would mix this one with my powders, definitely, because look at that body, man. So when you see a long body in a Buchone, that means that in the past it had it had to have some of these croppers right here. Okay, Silesian, Silesian, same thing. Same thing. This is the Slovak powder. Slovak. I love birds with white heads. I love powder with white head. Slovak powder. Okay, this picture's a little dark. Now we get into the Spanish powders or the Buchones, Españoles. Here you have a Colillano powder and a Jerezano powder. Look at the beak and look at the legs and look at the body of this bird. This Buchones de raza, or I don't know how to say that, race, yeah, I don't know how to say that in English. Okay. Then you got the Marchenero powder and the Mauritian powder. Look at the beak in the Mauritian. I don't even know if those exist today. The Marchenero they do, but the Mauritian, I don't know now. You can tell that the Mauritian, which is the black one, the butcher is hanging. And this one is a butcher a little more round, but I think he's got the butcher hanging too. He's planching and plancha. He's calling the female, excuse me. Over here it says Spanish horseman. Horseman. Look at the beak. Look at the head. Look how small the beak. Okay, so that's what you want to look in the powders today. Small beak. This is a Laudina thief powder. This says Spanish Laudina is a hen. Everything that ends in A in Spanish is female. Everything that ends in O is of a male gender. So it says Spanish Laudina thief powder. Old blue cock. Oh, look at that. It's a cock. So I don't know why they put like the Laudina, because it's Laudino. Okay? Because this is a cock. It says this is a cock. Okay, Spanish Laudina thief powder, blue old cock. Okay, Madrid, Spain. This picture is from Madrid, Spain. Okay. So listen, since this book is from 1965, maybe the breed is called Laudina instead of Laudino. But that contradicts other studies that says Laudino Sevillano. That was a mistake in the print. Yeah, that's what it was. Because I know for a fact that the breed is called Laudino Sevillano and Laudino Murciano, okay? So here we've got a Spanish modern sea thief powder. So back in 65, says this was a modern, okay? And then you have the Spanish owl powder. Oh my gosh, that looks like a Rafeño. Okay, so this is the modern, because I like the color, but I will mix him with maybe a Gaditano to give him more pout, more butcher. And look at the beak of this bird. This looks like a Rafeño. Look at the beak. I don't like him with too much small beak. Okay, the Canario has a small beak, and also the this guy right here. Okay, the Canario and the Rafeño, they have a small beak. I never heard of this guy right here. It says old powder, Spanish owl, Spanish owl. Here we got the Valencian powder, Valenciano. Valenciano and a sweeter powder. Okay, this one has a crest. What is that? Starwitzer. So this one is a Valenciano, which is a beautiful bird. And this is a, oh gosh, Starwitzer powder. See, this one has a crest. I don't like it. Cubans, we don't like it with the crest. But again, can knock it, because there might be one with the crest that is a beautiful bird in the air. But look at the Valenciano. Look at the head. Look at the ceras, the nose, and look at that beak. Beautiful bird. Okay. And now we go back to the swing powder. Swing powder. Okay. So now this one right here. I don't want to make this too long. Swing powder. All these powders right here they're from like England. Okay, England. All right, all these powders right here. It's not from Spain. See, this one says Voorburg Shield powder. Okay, so this is from Holland. All right, this one is from Frankfurt, Germany. Okay, and that's the end for the powders. All right, so the powders that I'm going to have, and I don't want to make this video too long because it's pretty long already, but I really want you to understand the powders. Don't knock it, man, because they got big powders. People say, oh, they got big powders, they can fly. The reason why the gaditanos here don't fly is because the same mentalities, they don't fly. Now you go to Spain and you see how those gaditanos fly. I had a gaditano in Miami that I put a video about 13 years ago. I am going to take that video from YouTube and I'm going to put it in the El Moro Pigeon show, okay? And you see how the bird flies, all right? So, my birds, what I'm going to do, that I have known through the years to be like the best, okay? Or very high up there with the best. You can mix any kind of powder, okay? Any kind of these powders you can mix. And come out a good bird. Since I like him with a lot of butch, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to mix, and I have 12 birds there. I have 6 pairs. 5 pairs because one doesn't have a hen, but I'm going to go get a hen that has a pouch. I have a big butch. Okay? So, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to have these birds for sale. And if you want powders, you should get these powders. Not because they're mine, because I don't care about that. Because you know I go to different pet shops, and I'll tell you, hey man, you can get this bird, you can get this bird, you can get this bird. I give you their number. I don't care about that. But the reason why I do that is because I'm confident in my powders. Because when I bring out the powders I'm going to bring, you're going to know. Okay? You're going to compare. And you're going to say, oh, wow, yeah, I want that. But I will continue to advertise other pigeon fancier. And for you to buy the birds too, because they also have very good birds. Okay? So what I'm going to do, back to that, is I'm going to take the gaditano. I have a gaditano here that I think it was the father. Before I said the brother, but my friend Alejandro El Pico, that knows more than me about that, told me that it was the father. His name was the Emperor, and he won 2nd place in Miami in a contest. So I have the son here, and he does fly, but I just got him. And they had that bird locked up, don't let him fly, don't let him nothing. I don't do that. I let them fly. And they fly a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the gaditanos and I'm going to mix it with the Spanish powders, the Cubans, and the one that they have small beaks and small pout. And then what's going to come out of there is going to be right in the middle, and it's going to be beautiful. Okay? The mixes that I have here are out of this world. They are nice. Okay? Now, another thing that the people do to make the powder better is mix it with Homer, but they already have Homer in them. So when they mix it with Homer too much, they cut out the buche. So now you have Buchones that's got no buche. They fly in the air and they got no buche. But the beauty of it is that they have buche and they let out the buche in the air. When I was a kid, we used to be like, wow, look at that buche, man. Wow, look at that. You know, now it's like they turn me off because they fly, but they got no buche in the air. Okay? So the ones that I'm going to get, they are going to have buche in the air. These buchones, when they're babies here, I'm going to put them to fly with the homers. So by the time I sell them to you, they are already schooled in the air with homers. Believe me, they're not going to come back to me. Okay? If you're in Tennessee, even if you're like 100 miles from here, they ain't coming back. 60 miles, they ain't coming back. Okay? Because I'm going to give them to you when they're babies, maybe about 3 months, 4 months old. So that means that all you have to do is just marry them, when they get to that age. Some people like to marry them when they're 6 months. Some people say they're too young to marry. But look, if the bird is already showing signs and wanted to marry, I don't see why not, but I do wait too. I wait too. But nature tells you it's time. Nature will tell you when it's time. Okay? But we can supervise that and we can regulate that and wait a little bit. And sometimes I'll do that. Okay? So I'm not bashing anybody. All right, so these birds, when I sell them to you, they are already going to be flying with Homer. So they're going to have that school with Homer. Okay? But since they're so hot-blooded birds, once you put a female, once you put a male that is already stuck to your loft, and you leave them there, they're about to lay eggs, like I explained in my other video, they're going to stay. And you got to give them that acariciamiento, in the adopting cage, like this guy I have here, see? Whoa. Like that, see? Now, that bird right there is a very good bird. The guy gave it to me because he cannot, he don't have the time to cure him. So I'll pray for that bird. And I'm giving him Tony's treasure. And I'm giving him sun. See? He's kind of like in the sun right now. The morning sun is really good. Now I gotta put the cage in the sun over there. Because he had him over there, he didn't have him in the sun at all. A pigeon's gotta get sun. So what you do is you get that bird that I sell you, and you put him there with the girl. Have him look at the loft. Okay, man, they'll get adopted so quick. But wait about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they'll already be stuck to your house. All right, but you have to give him that so he can recognize the area. All right, for the sake of the sport. Okay. Today they have traps. All right, which is very tempting. Okay, so the buchon goes out, do his work. He comes back to his box. He brings the pigeon in. He goes through the trap. It's a trap box. He goes through the trap. He goes into his box. Now, there is a door that closes right behind him. When the other bird goes in, it activates it before the bird gets in the box. Okay? So they are counting that as a capture. I don't count that as a capture because the trap captured the bird. The bird did not enter into the box. Like, for example, my potter brought 2 birds in one day. He brought a homing pigeon and he brought a wild pigeon. Guess what? Guess who went in the box? The homing pigeon. I waited until nighttime. Guess who was outside the box? The clinker. The clinker did not go in. Like a lot of times with the clinkers, like I see this video, this guy, he said he catch the clinker, but the clinker was right at the door. She didn't go in. So that's not a capture. All right? So what happened is that the bird goes in, it goes in the box, he can go in and out. In and out, the box does not activate. So, and I'm going to have a video on so you can see it. Go in and out, right? So once it goes in, it activates. There's 2 parts of the floor. Once the female or the male go in and he steps on that, it closes. Why is that in the box yet? The way I do it is straight to the box. Okay? Because you got to give the pigeon an opportunity to leave. All right? You got to give an opportunity to leave. Now, the pigeon go in, it goes in. Okay, now you got him. Now you capture that bird. Now I go and I close. Now you capture that bird. All right? Let him go out. Let him go out. Let him go get him again. Also, the pigeon works more. And you can teach him. And they learn how to really work. You can really tell if that bird really works. You know? The pigeon goes, he goes and get him again. And coming back. Get him again and bring him back. He's working. The other way is too easy. Bring him, put him down, go in, lock him, the trap, that's it. Okay, so the way I do it is, it's called in Spanish, directo al cajón, sin trampa. Straight to the box without a trap. The other thing the Buchones do, they put the lasso, which is something to put on the floor, and then they pull it. It's like, you know, the cowboys, they do that. The other thing they do is a hammer. It's like a big net, and they go, woo, and they get them. I don't do that, okay? The pigeon comes, they come straight to the box. I don't care, I'll wait the whole day. And then, when I get that bird, I find the owner, and I give it to the rightful owner. But what they're doing with the thief pouters today, when the pigeon comes, and you get the pigeon, they keep that pigeon. They sell it to another town, they cut the band off, the band with the numbers. So who is the thief? The thief is the guy, not the pigeon. The pigeon is just going to look for a mate. So while you doing this, while you're giving it back in a healthy way, and you make a friend. Okay? You make a friend. I got birds from other, I call them, I give it to them. If I keep it, I'll be stealing. It's against what I read in the Torah. This is what I read in the Torah. So it's against it. It's against the law of the Most High. So what I do, I look, I read it. Like recently, I got a bird, a white bird, and it came from Cape Coral, because they told me it had no band. So I put in the page, I got this bird. If the owner is there, please come. I said, I'm going to put it for a month. After a month, I'm going to put the bird for adoption, or I'm going to keep the bird, which is the righteous thing to do. And I say, tell me what the band say. The pigeon had no band, but if you really know the pigeon, then you'll tell me, oh yeah, that's my bird. Like when they got Pobacera from me, I said, that's my bird. And the band says Palomo de Robo. It has an American flag, it has a Cuban flag. I knew the bird. So if you really know your bird, and you know you really know your bird, you're going to say, oh yeah, that's mine, and that pigeon has no band. Or you're going to say, oh yeah, that looks like my bird, but my bird didn't have no band. Now I know that's your bird, now I'll give it to you. But what you do is, if you put a pigeon out, anybody can say, oh, that's my bird. Oh yeah, what does the band say? I don't know, I never read the band, but that's my bird. Okay, if that's your bird, I'm gonna go to your house, I'm gonna release it there. And she should stay. Right? So people will lie and take the bird. So what you do when you get a bird, try to find the rightful owner. Give it about a month, guys. If you don't find it, or maybe the owner don't want it, and then you adopt that bird or you sell that bird. Okay, that would be close to a righteous thing to do. Okay? All right, guys. Hey, so I think that's it. That's it for this video. I know it's long, so you're going to have to, if any questions you have, you can ask me any questions. You know, there's so much about pouters. Believe me, there's so much about Spanish pouters. Please don't underestimate them. They are really, really good birds. A lot of, they are very fun birds, okay? Another thing, sorry, see? About Spanish pouters that you're going to put for the robo, or for the steal, or to go get all the birds. Don't be too friendly with them. I know if you see me put the bird in my hand like that to come, don't do that to them, because they'll get him over there like that. So that bird, don't be friendly. You throw him there, have him arisco, have him very hostile. Okay? So you get him, you just you let him fly with the homers. Then when you're going to separate him, you put him back. Don't mess with him. Okay? Oh, how cute. No, that's no good. Because what I used to do in Cuba, when I used to see another bird and it come down, I just keep my bird like that, let the winds out, and the bird would flap the wings, and the bird would come and start, you know, start, enamorando, how you call that? Seducting the bird, right? Seduction. And then when it go on top or when it get close, I grab the bird. So that's what they would do to your bird over there in the other loft if you do to your bird in your loft. So don't do that. Don't do that. What I did there, if I'm gonna put the birds for the steal, is wrong to do. Because they'll do it over there. But over here, I got nobody. I got nobody around. The only thing I got around here is just people with homing pigeons. They don't care about Pouters. All right? And, yep, that's it. I was going to say the story about Paul Bacera, but you know the story about Paul Bacera because I already said it. So that's a really good bird. Very hard to get caught. Very hard. Pata dura. Okay, guys. Hey, subscribe. Ask me questions. If you have questions about Pouters, ask me questions. If I don't know it, I will research it. If I cannot find it, I will ask other people that have Pouters that I know that has been in the sport from like 1956, the 1950s, and I will ask them, okay? But there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of wrong things with these young people today with the Pouters, okay? And we have to educate them. We that've been in the Pouters for a long time have to educate them, so the sport can be clean. The sport has to be clean, guys. When you catch a bird, give it back to the owner. Make a friend. Now, when you make a friend in the pigeon world, you can trade pigeons. He might have a pigeon that you like. You can buy a pigeon. He can buy it from you. And you have to have friends in this pigeon sport that we're in, not enemies. Don't make yourself enemies by not giving. That's a worth it. That's a worth it for a bird. I don't care how beautiful the bird is. Doesn't worth it. All right. You guys, please subscribe to my channel. Ask questions. You all, everybody, you'll have a blessed day.